So this is Jason. I'm here with Talking Neat, and I've got model and actress Danielle Maddox here today.
Hi.
So how have you been?
I've been well. Been busy.
So with the modeling side, the actress side?
Kind of all over the board. Modeling really pays my bills, but I've been kind of getting the acting work slowly here in LA. I just moved here like 3 months ago, so
Oh, wow.
I'm like a newbie, a permanent resident newbie, I guess.
So some of like the web series you did, was that done outside of LA?
Yeah, I did that in Chicago actually.
Oh, okay.
So the Purity Squad is what
Purity
I think you're
Squad.
referencing. Yeah, that was a project that I worked directly with the writer and director on. I was a co-producer and also lead on it, but I did casting. So it was a pretty involved and awesome project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you pretty much did every part of the industry on that.
It was. I mean, because it was he and I pretty much solely doing everything. So yeah.
So will there be a season 2? You gonna kill another husband?
I wish, but
You wish there was a season 2, or you wish you got to kill?
I mean, both. But no, I don't know. I want to make something here in LA. That's different. That's kind of in the works, but yeah.
So in the works, like you've already got something lined up?
I did. I had it lined up in Chicago. It kind of fizzled away a little bit, and now I'm back in like the pre-planning stages of finding all the right pieces and just kind of waiting for the right moment to make it like happen, if that makes sense.
So are you taking more of like a lead role in this, like writing, casting, directing?
A little. So actually what I'm working on is a docu-series. So I would be the host, of course, but of course I would do the research and the producing and any other aspect that I can work in, basically. It depends. It depends on what it evolves into, really.
So now producing, that means you're going to be kind of networking, getting money together to get the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I mean
that's like
well, when you produce for projects that are lower budget or starting off with no budget, you take on many roles. Besides just thinking of like getting money, you're also in charge of just all of the details, really. And I enjoy that aspect. I like having my hands in all different little honeypots, like trying to get together and make something. Like I don't know. I excel in that arena when I'm putting so much on my plate for no reason.
So now do you see, as you progress in, I guess, Hollywood, do you see yourself being more of a, because I mean, no one does as much as you're doing. I mean, it's just, I mean, every once in a while someone will, I produced this and directed it, but they're not doing as, like, acting, casting. So, I mean, where does your heart lie?
My heart lies in producing a little bit, but also in performing. So it's hard to tell. I mean, at least for me, I like doing a lot of things, and I get bored if I'm just doing one thing all the time. So like for modeling, I enjoy doing it. I'm good at it. Is it something I want to always do? No, because I don't feel that has a lot of depth to it. It doesn't have a lot of ability to explore more deeper things. I don't know. For me, I don't like to define what I want to do because I think it limits your ability to evolve into other opportunities. I tend to fall into weird places and find that I like doing something else just randomly. And so, I don't know. I'm open to anything. Yeah.
So, I mean, not necessarily like drama, but I mean, I saw you had a couple comedy things up there.
Yeah, I've ended up falling into dark comedy randomly. I think I've actually done more comedic stuff than I have drama. And that's maybe not true, but the things that I have that are physical that I can show the world that I've done are mostly the comedic stuff. I have done some dramatic roles, but they're all kind of like in post-production and just I'm not able to show people. So I don't know. I don't know what it is that I want to do more or less. I'm happy. I like having a broad range of genres. Mm-hmm. I think most actors prefer to explore several avenues because you get bored if you get stuck into only doing
I think
that one thing.
But it seems like most of them, once they start going, it's almost like they get typecast.
Well, they do.
A bit.
When they excel in something, they're really, like, I always use Steve Carell as a really good example because he obviously started off doing a lot of comedy, but that isn't where his passion lays. He's a very good dramatic actor, so when he was doing a lot of comedy, he was booking more comedy because that's what people enjoyed seeing him in, and that's what I'm sure his managers, his agents were pushing him for, or that's what people were calling him for.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, you get tired of just only doing that one thing, so that's when you like try to change people's perception and do something different, not for everyone, but for yourself.
So starting out, barrel select.
Okay.
So this one, it's 8 different whiskeys.
8? Okay.
8. So it's kind of like that Irish style of whiskey making, where they just blend a whole bunch of stuff and get that perfect flavor.
Okay.
This one, they have like this kind of like a master whiskey guy who just travels the world looking for the perfect barrel from different distilleries, and then he'll buy a couple barrels of that one, a couple of that one from all different places. Wow. So this has like 2 ryes, single malts, multi-grains, bourbons in it. And the other thing is it's cask strength.
Wow. Okay.
And it's a infinite barrel. So it's kind of that style where you just keep adding stuff to it until you get this perfect flavor.
Wow. Small batch.
Small batch, and they actually date the bottles because once they make it, they're never going to make something the same again because they buy whiskey from other places. So they might be able to get the same rye, the same bourbon from 2 different distilleries, but they're going to be different a year later. So
really cool.
Every time they come out with one, because it's cask strength, they don't water it down. So it's 60% instead of your 40.
Wow, be strong.
It's actually not, I mean, it's strong, but it's not.
Doesn't taste strong.
Yeah, it doesn't taste too alcohol-y.
Where is it from?
This one is actually, it's an American whiskey, but they get their whiskey from all over the world.
But they distill.
They distill it in America, and I forget where. Louisville.
Oh, Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Okay. Very competitive.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
Give it a try.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's got a nice, like smoky, maybe oak.
Yeah, they do use one of the scotches is a Highland.
Okay.
In this one, so and then you get like a lot of the oak from the barrels.
Wow. It actually is really smooth.
Yeah.
You hit it when it hits the tongue. It hits you.
Yeah, the tip of the tongue.
Yeah. But
yeah,
when
that's
you
the.
Taste it, it's.
And like by blending whiskeys, I mean that's what you're trying to do. Get that. That's why like Irish whiskeys are like Johnny Walker. It's just so smooth because they just blend. But.
Wow. It's got like a lot of layers to it for sure.
Yeah.
Like it tastes different every single time I'm like tasting it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean that comes from having 8 different types of whiskey in it. I mean you got bourbon, rye, single malts.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a different one. So your modeling career.
Yeah.
Are you still doing modeling now that you're?
Yeah, I mean that I've been doing modeling for 15 years, off and on, and then I started doing it full time about 2014. It pays my bills. I do a lot of e-commerce, like lifestyle commercial modeling, just kind of where I excel or where clients tend to want to book me. And I do a lot of fitness.
That's good.
So a lot of fitness modeling, which makes me have to try and stay in shape.
Maybe not after today.
No, this won't. This won't hurt me. Modeling is interesting because it's obviously like a very vain industry in a way. Like I have to always be very conscious of how I look and how I do my hair and my makeup and try to perceive myself as a certain way, which is the exact opposite of my actual personality. So I don't know. I like that like two-sided kind of lifestyle because it's so different than what I'm actually like. So
now you've had various colors of hair, styles. Does that like hurt your chances for modeling, or?
Well, the various hair colors are actually modeling jobs.
Oh, are they?
So anything that you might see in my portfolio, if you see the pink or the purple or the coral hair colors, those were actually modeling jobs. So I was paid to have my hair like that.
To do that?
Yeah. I would never pay to have that done to my hair because it doesn't last. I like it. If I weren't modeling, I weren't acting, I would probably have purple hair or pink hair. Just because I enjoy that color. I enjoy having colorful hair, but it's not practical.
But then it changes your whole wardrobe and what you can and can't wear.
Nah.
Don't care about that?
No. I kind of stopped caring. I kind of stopped caring about trying to have an image that reflects like what I should be looking like, if that makes sense. You know, there's people, especially modeling, that models go out and they try to look like models. And they go out in public, they want people to know that they're a model, so they dress a certain way to look.
So you need to walk the dog. How long does it take you to get ready to walk the dog?
Put on my yoga pants and...
You have no problem just walking out with no makeup?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, I prefer not wearing makeup, actually. I mean, I have sensitive skin. I tend to break out. So there's times where I might throw on makeup, but not to walk a dog. If I'm going to lunch, I might like throw on some concealer, but I'm very low maintenance. I don't like having to wash my hair if I don't have to. And I don't like having to put on a ton of makeup.
So moving on.
Okay, should finish.
So this one is Few.
Few.
It's a rye whiskey.
Okay.
Have you had ryes?
Oh, I've had them all. I used to bartend.
Oh, okay. So this one, I love the story behind this one. It's made in Evanston,
Indiana.
Illinois.
Oh, Evanston.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right outside Chicago.
I'm from Chicago.
Yeah. You threw me.
It was I heard Evans. It's a whiskey.
And so this one, back in the late 1800s, it's Few.
World's Fair.
There was a group of women and they were led by this one lady. She was like the minister's wife. Okay. She hated drunks. She hated alcohol. And so it was the temperance movement. And she would go around in Evanston and just be outside the bar and shame all these people drinking. And she eventually got like meetings with President Haynes' wife, Jefferson Davis's wife. And so, I mean, she became head of the national chapter of the temperance movement. And her name was Frances Elizabeth Willard. Okay. And so that's how they get Few. Cool. She was from a church right around the corner from this distillery. So to immortalize her, even though she'd be turning over in her grave with this one.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so it's in Evanston.
It's in Evanston.
There's a really wonderful restaurant in Evanston that I would imagine this would be perfect in, actually.
This is usually everyone's favorite.
It smells sweet, or like bready, or like there's like maybe it's the rye.
Yeah.
There's a like a caramel or something that I'm like, that I smell initially that I can't pinpoint.
Yeah, it does have like a kind of a hint of like a sweetness, like a butterscotch.
Butterscotch, that's better than caramel, I think. I mean, they're similar, but...
I don't taste it though, the butterscotch. Okay, it's more of a...
We'll give it a go. Evanston. Ooh.
A lot different than the Barrel Select.
I like that, actually. It doesn't have a bite.
No. Really smooth on this one. This is usually everyone's favorite. Everyone.
I can see why.
Yeah, I love this rye.
Illinois does it right.
I know.
I mean, it's cold in the winter. There's literally a blizzard happening right now. I was messaging my friend yesterday because I was at that Behemoth thing, and he's a huge metal fan. So we were talking about it, and he was like, I hate you right now because it's blizzarding and there's currently lightning happening at the same time. And I was like, don't miss that. But we're cold in the Midwest, so we have to drink to feel like a human again.
So you're an ethical model.
I'm pretty ethical. I do a lot of work for ethical brands, so as I've grown, and that's actually kind of more into what my docuseries touches on, is more environmental stuff, but I've done a lot of work with environmental brands and ethical brands, so it's educated me a bit on that stuff, and it's helped me develop a bit more of an opinion and stance on it, so yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. Have you ever turned down any gigs for, obviously?
I've turned down gigs, but not maybe for ethical reasons. I've turned down gigs if they don't fit my image, if it's something I felt wasn't appropriate or I wouldn't want to be represented as.
Like, example.
Cigarettes.
Okay.
Like, I would never be in a cigarette ad. I don't smoke.
What about a marijuana ad?
I've actually worked for
vaping.
I worked for a cannabis brand recently, and I'm actually supposed to work this week. I'm all for it. I fully believe that it's really beneficial to people. I think some people abuse it just like anything else, but for me, I use CBD myself because it helps me sleep at night, and I think it's really helpful to the body.
Ready to move on?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to pick the next one. Go for this one. Actually, go for this one.
It looks very dark.
This one is a blend.
Oh, okay.
This is Virginia Distillery.
Oh.
This is their port cask finish. So they take two different whiskeys. They take a Virginia whiskey and a Highland whiskey from Scotland.
Okay.
Mix them together, throw them in a port barrel.
Okay.
Actually a cask, so it's a smaller barrel, so it gets more of the flavor.
Yeah.
But of port.
Interesting. I wonder if I have enough of like my arm will stop itching. That's kind of what I'm hoping for today.
Well, I was planning on having a beekeeper come in before you and just release a few bees.
Yeah.
But
I know, it's funny. With my bee sting or whatever, wasp or yellow jacket, because I can't really be sure what it was that stung me. I've been posting Instagram stories of the progress of it. You know, bee 1, Danielle 0, and then I had to go to get some cortisone last night because I was desperate. A photographer that I work with a lot, he was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to cancel our shoot, which was near a beehive. I was like, yeah, I guess so. They like me for some reason. I don't know why.
What photographer schedules a shoot by a beehive?
He was joking.
Oh, okay.
No, he's great. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. In nature, I don't like bugs, and I think maybe they know that I don't like bugs. I was leaving acting class on Saturday, took off my jacket to get in my car. That's the only thing I did. I took it off, threw it in my car, immediate sting. I don't know where the guy came from. Was he in my car? Was he just happened to be flying when I opened my door and got mad?
That's weird because like a bee or yellow jacket, they don't normally just go, oh, fuck her. And
that's what it felt like, though.
Fly over and sting you.
It was maybe his nest was near my car and he was just flying around and happened to just...
But usually, like when you're by a nest or a hive, you get a lot of them.
I don't know. All I know is that I took my jacket off, was getting into my car, felt this sharp pinch on my arm, saw a thing that was yellow and black, didn't get a good look at it because I just saw it sitting in my arm and swiped it off. And it pulsed for like 4 hours.
Wow.
And then, of course, the next day, just like red, swelling. This one seems, I don't know. Can't really put a handle on it.
It's a little different. Little hint of smokiness.
Smoky, yeah.
You can taste a little more wood, a little vanilla.
Very woody.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a bad way.
Not like wood chips or anything.
I think what's interesting about whiskey is that it's so like pungent when you smell it.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned this when I was doing my like training with spirits and just like how we perceive a smell. We initially always think that what it's going to taste like that, and it doesn't, which I think is very interesting.
This one.
Yeah. That one especially.
Definitely, yeah. This is Bren. So this is actually the distiller is a female. Her name's Allison Park.
Okay.
And she was kind of like one of those annoying foodies who would go around, try different food all over the world.
Yeah.
And blog about it. People you can't stand.
Yeah.
And she was in Cognac, France. She ran into a guy who who produced cognac, and they kind of hit it off, and she wanted to make a whiskey, and so they kind of over 4 years drew up plans, and they ended up producing this.
Okay.
And so it's a single malt whiskey from France, which you really don't see many whiskeys come out of France.
No.
Whiskeys, I mean, France is more wine or cognac.
Or champagne.
Yeah. And so they finish it in cognac barrels.
Interesting.
So this is almost like a dessert.
Okay. That's a very big pour.
You don't have to finish.
Probably just pour it out faster because it's a little lighter of a body.
So on this one, I'm kind of bummed because I'm closing into the end of the bottle on this one. And I have no idea how to get more.
It says batch number 1. This is the first one.
Yeah.
How'd you manage that?
Friend gave it to me.
Okay. Oh, ooh, that smells.
It's sweet.
Sweet.
It smells like apple pie.
It's very sweet smelling.
Well, and that's where the cognac comes from.
I will admit, I'm not a fan of cognacs, and I'm not a fan of dessert wines.
Well, you're probably gonna hate this
I
one.
probably won't hate it, but it's okay.
This one is like borderline whiskey.
Yeah.
I mean, it really shouldn't be called a whiskey.
It is a French single malt whiskey finished in cognac barrels.
That it is. I think it's like apple pie with.
It smells like apple pie for sure. Now that you say that. Okay. Let's see. I don't hate it. It's not sweet tasting. It's very light.
It's very light. It's very drinkable.
Very drinkable.
I mean, it's to me, it's something you open up after dinner and you can just.
Yep.
Instead of like sitting down with a brandy, sit down with a bottle of this.
It's so clear almost, you know? Like it's got this really
Yeah, it is
strawy
very-
color versus like
It's
all these amber and
Yeah, it is a lot lighter than the others.
which probably comes from the single malt aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't hate this. I really don't. Like, I would probably pick that over all of these other ones. to drink, like you said, after dinner or something.
Oh yeah, after dinner. I mean, this
Like
is
if you
like
throw a little ice cube in there, it's almost reminiscent of a wine, honestly.
yeah, and that's I mean finishing it in cognac.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a very sweet one.
It's not too sweet though. See, I don't like white. Like my mom and aunt love like a Moscato.
Or Gertz or Riesling.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah,
I can't do white. I can't do sweet. I had white wines when I was in Italy, but I can't tell you what they were because they were just house whites, and they were good, but I don't know what they were. I like red. I like bold. I can't do sweet wine. It gives me a headache.
So you like the drier?
I like dry. I like bold reds. And it's the same for everything. If it's like go big or go home, if it doesn't taste like delicious, I'm just not going to drink.
See, I actually think this is delicious.
Oh,
I
that is
actually,
delicious,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's very good. It's just like, what are you going to drink it with, or when?
Dessert.
Yeah, this isn't you're having a pizza and having some
it.
whiskey. Yeah, this would not go. But
Nightcap.
yeah,
I would have loved to have tried that first, actually, because
see, I figured this one is like so different.
it is.
I figured it'd kind of ruin.
Right.
You'd have like this sweetness in your mouth,
I
and
think
that's
that
why.
you did a good job of pacing that to the end, but I would like to know what it tastes like prior to having all these other.
Yeah, and you kind of get that as like you go like to the next one.
Yeah.
Trying it a little bit more.
Well, that's why I liked a little sip of the melted
the water.
ice, just to get a little like, rebalancing of my taste buds, because it's the middle of the day and I've eaten one meal and had like too much coffee probably.
So this is.
Oh yeah, we haven't tried it yet.
Cold Cock.
Cold Cock.
It is an American herbal flavored whiskey.
Okay.
They sponsor a whole bunch of heavy metal bands.
Really?
A lot of them.
Ooh.
I don't know anymore. They used to sponsor. I think like. Don't mock Cold Chamber. I got in trouble for mocking Cold Chamber.
No, I'm not mocking. You're not mocking. It just seemed like a good.
But they kind of broke into heavy metal.
Yeah. Jaeger is heavy metal.
And this is kind of like they were going after that Jaeger crowd. Personally, I think this stuff tastes like shit.
Okay.
I hate it. I love Jaeger, but
well, it's not the same.
It's almost like
eggnog.
It's almost like a. I don't know.
It smells like eggnog.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan.
My funny experience with Jaeger, years ago, my friend was the drummer for Unearth, and they toured with Cannibal Corpse.
Trevor?
No, Derek Hirschwell.
Derek. Okay.
He used to be, I met him in Seamless years ago. Been friends with him since, and he stayed with me a bunch, but they had played House of Blues in Chicago, and Cannibal Corpse played that show. Mm-hmm. We went to this little dive bar right around the corner from House of Blues. And we're just chilling. He was like, hey, like it was me and my ex-boyfriend at the time. We were all like, me and Derek and him were just like playing on the jukebox, listening to music. And he's like, hey, I think the dudes from Cannibal Corpse are coming on. I'm like, serious? Really? He's like, yeah. So they came over and I ended up doing like Jaeger bombs with Cannibal Corpse, like all night long. I was probably like 22, maybe 20. No, I was definitely like at least 21 or 22. I was legally able to drink, but I was definitely not older than 22. And I was like, this is legit the coolest thing that I've ever done. Nobody cares that I'm here. Nobody will ever care that I did shots with Cannibal Corpse. But I will always like cherish this moment because it's just like such a cool thing that I got to do because I was just my friend. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of friends that are in bands. I've always been around the metal scene. I've always had friends that either were guitar techs or in bands. So
you brought up Cold Chamber.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like a 90s.
I never really listened to Cold Chamber.
Okay.
They were never a band that I liked. Cannibal Corpse was one of the very first bands that I liked that was outside the realm of typical like metal. When I was really young, my stepdad's brother introduced me to some weird music. Started off with Misfits. The biggest thing is I always was like that weird outcast girl that like didn't really fit in with anybody. I don't know why I felt that way. I just always felt different from people. Music was such a big part of my life. Every weekend I spent listening to my parents getting drunk and hanging out with their friends and family, and they would listen to music. We'd have Metallica or Maiden or like, I don't know, it could be anything. It could be like blues or something playing. So like music was so, I identified with it so much. So I didn't connect with people at school. And then this one time I remember my uncle, I had this like army green nail polish. He wanted to trade me, he wanted my nail polish. And he was going to give me a cassette tape. And I was like, okay, cool, fine, whatever. It was a Cannibal Corpse cassette tape. So he gave me this tape in exchange for this green, stupid nail polish. Cool. And that was like where I really like started forming like my musical tastes. And from there, I think I like...
So with Cannibal Corpse?
Cannibal
That was
Corpse.
your entry?
Yeah. I was young. I mean, I think I had to have been like maybe 11 or so. But I also had already been in like to the Green Day and like maybe a little bit in Linkin Park and
So you're a
Korn
90s girl.
I was born in 87. So I listened to the typical stuff. I like Spice Girls, Backstreet Boys, all NSYNC, all that stuff like when but I was a dancer, so that stuff kind of like already played into what I was doing. And then but like when I listened on my own time, I identified with something more angry and like deeper. So I found Linkin Park. I found like Limp Bizkit and Mudvayne and Korn and all this like Slipknot, all this stuff that my like friends that were skaters, Green Day, like people were listening to that was like a little bit more like meaningful, angry stuff that connected with me a lot. So when my uncle gave me this Cannibal Corpse cassette, I was like, what is this? This stuff is so angry. I didn't fully understand it. I knew what it was, but I didn't, it wasn't like, it resonated with me, but that's all I had was this. The internet wasn't a thing. Like it wasn't, I didn't know how to find other stuff. I was from a really small town outside. Like I wasn't in a city at that point. And so it just kind of evolved. I had a friend in high school that was like, oh, you like this heavier stuff, yeah? I'm like, yeah. So he gave me this like, it was a System of a Down CD. I think it was like Sugar or something. It was like their self-titled, but it was like I think he promoted.
So that was their first one?
It was their self-titled album or something.
It's like
Sugar
90,
was on,
98?
Or so, yeah. Well, that was middle school for me. Because I don't think I was in high school yet. I can't, it's all kind of this blurry in those little time frames.
God, you're so young.
I'm young. I'm 31, but I just remember like it just was always like progressively I went into like heavier, and then I went into grindcore, and then I went into like metalcore, and then it went into
How do you go
metal.
from grindcore to metalcore?
I liked some grind. I liked chaos, but I didn't necessarily like grind so much.
Napalm Death?
Napalm Death. I liked I don't know if necessarily Daughters would be grind. I liked Number 12 Looks Like You. There was all these like weird like math metal like
Number 12 is, I'd call that grind.
Yeah.
Noise.
I crossed over a lot between stuff. I had a lot of friends in Christian metal bands, so I went to Cornerstone, which introduced me to stuff that was a little bit more like The Chariot and like Norma Jean, which was to me like now is silly, but at the time like influenced a lot of what I listened to, because The Chariot was chaos and noise, and like Norma Jean was like a little bit more angry but a little more screamo, so it just all kind of like connected into. I didn't believe, I'm still not very, like I don't believe in any of that stuff, but I liked Cornerstone because it was musical, and there were a lot of really great bands that just kind of identified as Christian because they made more money, but made great music, so I don't know.
So we're kind of beating around the bush on this one, which I don't blame us.
It's so sweet.
Have you tried it?
This one?
Yeah, cold cock.
Yeah.
Did you?
I think I did. I took a sip of it, I thought.
Did you?
Apple pie, right?
No, that was this one. This one's like the Jaeger of whiskey.
Oh, I like this actually.
I hate this one.
Because it's so sweet. It's not that sweet actually. It is sweet, but it's herbal.
It is. They sponsor a lot of bands.
Wild cock. Well, it's
Cold
like a
cock.
fist. Wild. It should be wild cock. I'm combining wild turkey.
They're talking about like a cold cock, like you get punched.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. From Florida, but a product of San Diego, California. That's weird. Florida?
So your activism,
Yeah.
are you more animal rights, environment, women's rights?
More environment. Obviously, I believe in animal rights. I believe in women's rights, equality. I'm a big believer in not like overly supporting something that you don't fully grasp. My biggest thing I think with any topic is so many people have formed opinions about stuff that they don't actually fully understand. And I don't like to be that person. If I actually believe in something, I want to understand what it is I'm talking about. So when it comes to environmental stuff, I stand behind having that eco movement, being green, because I understand it. I've educated myself on the topic. It's something that we can, as humans, do and change. And it's just all a matter of educating ourselves on actually what we can do. That goes for anything, really, but I mean, I understand equality and I understand animal rights. I understand that. I do occasionally eat meat, so I would be hypocritical if I stood behind animal rights, you know? Not that I don't, but because I do believe that we don't do humane things for.
I think you can still be for animal rights and be a
meat eater.
Meat eater.
Right. I'm more of a pescatarian if I'm being upfront about that. I mean, I eat mostly fish, but I do occasionally order chicken. Even though I don't really like chicken that much, it's like this weird thing. I don't know.
I don't like chicken mainly because no restaurant knows how to prepare it really well.
Well, true, and you don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, they're so afraid of bacteria in chicken that they just overcook it, dry it out. So
yeah. I don't know, meat in general grosses me out overall. If it's well made, I like it, of course, but just like knowing where it comes from and how it's treated, like when I go to the store, I'm not made of money. I don't have that much money. Like, I have enough to be comfortable and live, but if I had more money, I would buy more ethically if I could. So I just choose to not buy meat because I feel like if I'm supporting these like farms that are mass producing chickens and beef that are just pumped full of crap, I just don't want to buy that. I'd rather eat legumes, beans, and get my protein that way than eat hormone pumped chickens that are also just like horribly treated in their life.
So when you mentioned earlier you're kind of an activist.
Yeah.
Are you a member of any groups?
I'm not a member. No, so the company that I work for does basically we make a product that is a 100% backyard compostable plateware company. So there's a lot of companies out there that claim to be green or sustainable, and that's not necessarily always true. There's a lot of companies who make bamboo products. Bamboo is not sustainable. This product is actually made from fallen palm leaves that can be broken down naturally in a backyard if you throw it away. So
what makes bamboo non-sustainable? Because I always thought it was.
You have to cut it down. You have to cut down.
But it grows like a foot a day.
But you still have to cut down product you have to kill a product in order to make something. So that requires growing more, which also takes away from resources because bamboo is also pretty invasive as a species of a plant. So not only are you cutting it down, but you're replanting or, it's not like it's just growing in excess abundance that we're going and breaking it down. We're taking it from environments that are natural to produce. Fallen palm leaves are fallen palm leaves. You take a natural resource that's fallen in the ground, is just going to decompose. You heat treat it, wash it, and harden it into a product that can be used that looks really pretty and really similar to bamboo. and if you throw it away in the garbage, will break down naturally in the environment. Bamboo, when it's used as a product, has to be bonded together with something else. So bamboo, you can't just take bamboo, heat treat it, and press it into a product to make something that's sustainable. It has to be commercially composted in order to break down. And most companies aren't commercially composting the product to break it down. They're just throwing it away. When a consumer takes a plate that's made of bamboo, if they are not taught that this product they're holding in their hand needs to be commercially composted, they're just going to toss it in the garbage. It ends up in a landfill. It's now a hardened piece of bamboo that's never going to break down on its own because it has some sort of bonding agent to keep it in a hardened state to look like a bowl.
So are you unable to make like a bowl, a fork, a spoon out of the fallen palm leaves?
The fallen palm leaves, right now, in the company, we have plates. We have over 50 SKUs, the plates and bowls. We have birch, I think is what the wood is that we're using for our cutlery. The cup is the biggest issue in the world right now. I worked a waste management show in August in Nashville, and that's like a huge topic, is finding a sustainable cup that we can use in any element that can be thrown away and naturally decompose, because it's really difficult to create a cup that it can withstand heat, extreme heats and extreme colds. It's not going to just over time just break down, because you'd have to put some sort of seal on it in order for it
Same with like a straw. I mean, you got Starbucks in California, they can't use straws in.
I mean, I go to Starbucks all the time, they have straws.
Well, in I think a year or 2 years,
yeah,
they're outlawed in
a
lot of cities.
I mean, they should be, because they're pointless. We don't need straws. We just use them because we're used to them. The plastic straw can't be broken down and it's not recyclable. So there are straws that are available that are paper that withstand a certain amount of liquid, but it's the same for cups. It's just really difficult to create a product that won't break down naturally because of the liquid that's absorbed into it, without putting something on it that's going to coat it and prevent from the moisture absorption. But I don't know, it's a very interesting and complicated topic.
So what's the company called?
Patra Eco Dinnerware. P-A-T-R-A.
Patra.
Patra. Yeah.
Eco Dinnerware. So do they have a viable product that's actually available now?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, San Diego Zoo is one of our clients. So we have the San Diego Zoo. There's zoos. I mean, zoo is like a big part because zoos consume so much stuff, and they're very progressive because most zoos don't have a lot of space for getting rid of things, and they also try to have products that say, if you go to most zoos, you can't get a cap or you can't get a straw because you throw it away and it gets, removed somehow and ends up in, one of the animals' sanctuaries. Like, if they eat that, that's bad for them. So they try to limit their carbon footprint, but also their waste production. So having products that they can actually they can compost on site is really helpful, because they can compost it and then reuse it for fertilizer or whatever throughout the actual zoo. So that's something that the company itself does, is not only promotes having a sustainable product, but also doing something within your company that can benefit your company, whether it is composting or using a product that is not creating more waste.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the company, we have tons of customers. It's just educating consumers, educating companies that are trying to adapt green programs, and knowing that maybe bamboo isn't actually the only answer, because bamboo really isn't the answer. It's not.
I've always thought bamboo was the answer.
It's really not, because I encourage people, when they go to a store, when they go and they spend the extra money to buy a green product because they are trying to be more eco, learn what the terminology means. A lot of times it'll say 100% compostable, but it has an asterisk next to it, and then asterisk leads you to a fine print that says must be processed in a commercial composting facility. So if you do not take that product and commercially compost it, it's not going to break down naturally. Whether or not that information makes sense to most people is up to the person. But
Yeah.
because we're not educating people on what that actually means, it's never going to like make a difference. Just like in Burbank, for instance, and I'm trying to educate myself on this a bit more, but like ecology, I think is the company. They come and they take your garbage and they sort it for you and take away the recycling. But in most companies that do recycling and garbage companies that say they sort, if your recycling is inside of a plastic bag, typically speaking, that's just going to get thrown away. If you put your recycling products inside of a bag that is not recyclable or is contained, they're just going to toss it and not sort through it. So are companies educating customers on whether or not they should be sorting and cleaning their products themselves before recycling?
See, I've heard the same thing. Like like a Snapple bottle, it's glass.
Yes.
If you throw it away with a metal lid on,
or yes,
they won't.
Right.
They'll just. It's cheaper for them to just discard it.
It's mixed waste.
Yeah, because
Yes.
it's got metal and plastic, and I guess paper.
When you mix the waste, it makes it harder because once a sorting company gets something, if the bottle has plastic on it, if the can has a cover or something on it that, like, because when they're just dumping this recyclable stuff onto a conveyor belt to power wash and clean and get rid of residue. But if you're not taking the time as a responsible consumer to clean your product before properly disposing it, it can't be sorted properly, and that creates more money and time for people who are recycling. So recycling costs money for most people, and that's why the incentives to recycle are way less in America, but in the world as well. Yeah. That's what my docuseries is really, I want to focus on is educating people and making them fully understand that we might be making the conscious decision to buy green products or buy things that are technically more eco-friendly, but we're not doing the things as consumers to make responsible, educated decisions to make sure that it's actually being recycled. We're not good people if we're buying a green product and paying the premium price for a green product if we're not responsibly disposing of it. At the end of the day, it just becomes waste.
Not good.
Not good. It ends up in a landfill. It does the same thing as plastic.
Yeah.
It sits there for whatever amount of time it takes to break down naturally. And it still is waste, and it's still creating the gases in the air and the global warming that we can't contain because it's a chemical that won't break down naturally.
See, I thought I was doing good.
We all do. I mean, we all do. We all want to do good. We all want to make good decisions and do better for our earth. But because corporations aren't doing what they should to educate consumers and are just buying products and promoting products.
Yeah, promoting it as green, and that's it.
Yeah. And people are like, cool, this company is green. But they don't even know what that means. So for me, I want people to support companies that are doing more. And I want to encourage companies that want to actually be green to actually do better. It's possible. You just have to
A little education.
do a little more education on the actual topic. Yeah. That's where I'm at.
You got to get that docuseries out.
Trying. One step at a time, I guess. One whiskey at a time.
One whiskey. Anything else?
I have to pee.
We're not going to follow you in there, so
No.
guess we got to end.
Yeah. Really, I'm a lady, and I'm just gonna have to admit I have to pee.
I guess we're done. Thank you.
Thank you.